Newsflash, Josh Giddey is still looking to get paid, and Bulls fans everywhere are complaining, even though we already knew this. We're going to talk about that. Plus, will the Chicago Bulls trade up, and how could they trade up in the 2025 draft? And Jonathan Kuminga is still a target for the Bulls, or should he be? We'll talk about it all and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat, the designer, host, and creator of the Windy City Breeze, and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host, creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And everydayers, thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. Pat, it came out, actually, I think it came out yesterday morning, but of course, we already had our topics planned. We probably use after the show.
Yeah.
Josh Giddey is looking for 5 years, $150 million, which is the average of $30 million per. If you factor in the average $8 million, if you factor in the average 8% rises, it means his first year is going to be around $26 to $27 million on the contract. The thing that's not surprising to me. The thing that is that this report came out, and it almost like reinvigorated people, acting like this was the first time they heard that Josh Giddey wanted 30. Maybe it's because it was presented as $100 million, $150 million, that it threw people off. But like, I don't know if you know how to count, but the number of reactions, like, oh my God, I'm like, this is what we've heard literally since the beginning of last season. How you feeling, Pat?
Listen, I told y'all all season, as he kept getting better, I said 30 million. Like, this isn't a shock at all. I'll be honest with you. Be glad he's only looking for 30 million.
Bro,
in theory, he's trying to give you a discount
of 12 million per. That's the thing that people, like, so many people talk about this and act as if this is his max. He's not even coming in asking for the max. He's literally looking at the market saying, okay, this is around what a starting point guard gets. This is around what my draft class is getting. So this is what I want. People are acting like he's coming in like, I want all my money. He's giving up $12 million on the start.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think you would be in a great position if Josh Giddey is making $30 million for you. I think people still haven't adjusted their brains to the new how the new CBA is and how the new contract and all that stuff works out with the percentage base more than the actual financial base or the
16% of the cap.
Yeah,
it's
you know what I mean?
16% of the cap.
That's not bad for your starting point guard. You know what I mean? It's just not. And so the reason, again, me and Haize, and I know people now look at it and they're looking at the Patrick Williams contract and they're like, this is the worst contract ever. It's not the worst contract ever. It's the worst contract ever because Patrick Williams is useless.
Yeah.
Like, that's why it's a bad contract. It's not a bad contract for the Patrick Williams that he at least looked like 2 seasons ago, where it was like, well, I'm going to be very engaged defensively and one of the best defenders. And this shot may happen, this shot may not. Like, okay, it's role player money in the modern NBA. Is it 90 million? Yeah, it's a lot of freaking money. Welcome to basketball being baseball. Josh Giddey making $30 million is not a bad situation for you, 16% of the cap. Now, where it may become a bad situation for you is if you lock up Josh Giddey and then you feel like, okay, now we got to force this team to stay together. And because of that, you make some decisions that may not be beneficial for you down the road. The Giddey contract to me is absolutely nothing. What deals are you going to give to Bulls players currently on this team outside of the Giddey contract? That's what scares me.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. I mean, and that's the part of planning. You got to look at that. But you got to think about what it's going to take to keep building that team out to get it down to. And see, here's the thing. This is like Adrian. The problem isn't necessarily that Haize. It's the idea about the process would be you essentially not even let teams who in free agency have little to no cap space provide. Okay, what does that have to do with? Find me the last free agent, the restricted free agent that a team wanted to keep that they may go out and find. You won't find it. It doesn't like. It's funny that people want the Bulls to act like good franchises, but then not want them to do things good franchises do. Good franchises don't make the player that they know they want to keep go out in the restricted free agency and try to find a deal when they're already giving up money.
Because you're going to overpay.
You know why they made Zach LaVine go out and get a deal? It's because he was injured and he wanted all the money. It was the combination of that. It wasn't just the fact that they didn't want him to pay the money. They don't do that. So that's the thing. Is like Bulls fans have worked themselves up just so they can feel better about something. They want the Bulls to say, oh, yeah, go out and find your own deal so they can feel better about the deal that's inevitable anyway. On top of that, they can't say, hey, Josh Giddey, go out and talk to the Nets because that's the only team they can. Josh Giddey and his agent can be like, no, because we don't want to go to the Nets. We want to stay with y'all. So what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, like you saw a young player come out and actually play well last season, and now the problem is that you got to pay him.
Yeah, exactly.
You saw a young player live up to the potential that you hoped he would not live up to, exceed.
Yeah.
Josh Giddey was giving us 25, 15, and 9 games. And now we're looking at him, we're like, pay him? Oh, no. Why would we pay him?
Bulls players, we need good young players, but don't pay them, though. Like, unfortunately, the Bulls traded for a player that was in the rookie year of their contract. That's
final year of their rookie
thing.
deal.
Yeah, he was the last year of his rookie deal. Yeah. That's it. That's what you did. And unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but like he's not in the same situation as a Zach LaVine. He's not in the same situation as a Coby and Iowa when they went into restricted free agency, coming off terrible years. He's not in that situation.
You're complaining about like to let him go into free agency and let him test the market. Yeah, most teams aren't going to offer him the money because they don't have the money to offer him, right? Yeah. But the two that do will absolutely offer him more than $150 million because they know that's what he wants, and they want to make sure that the Bulls don't bring him back.
Yeah,
he can make a max of $224.
And even Adrian saying it's a small. No, it's not. You're not paying him just for the small sample size. You're paying him for what you've seen him do over his career. You know what he's done since he's been in there? He's been top 8 in triple doubles since he's come into the NBA. You know what also he's done at? He's generated the second most points off assists in the NBA. You know who he's only second to? Nikola Jokic. That's it. Like, it's not just based off one season. Fans are looking at it just as the end of last season. He's done. You also look at it and say he was productive on a team that was never built for his skill set, period. Even before coming to the Bulls.
Until, Shea got healthy again.
Yeah. Even then he was still successful after Shea. Like, I hate that people talk about it like Josh Giddey was always terrible. No, he had a bad playoff series. The whole team had a bad playoff series that ended his career in OKC.
Well, no, but the player that he was, so that second season, he was hooping. That was where he was hooping that second season. Where he got the Slob Wizard nickname, still the weirdest one. Because he was balling though. He was having phenomenal games. He averaged 17 points per game. He was getting everybody involved. The Thunder were winning, and it was like, okay, we got this young piece that's helping us do everything we need to do. And then Shea got back healthy, and it was like, all right, we need to take the ball out of his hands because that dude's a lot better, which is not a bad decision. You just had two young pieces that didn't fit together. You tried to make him a small forward the next year, which I guess if his shooting had improved at this rate, it might have actually worked. If he was
shooting the way that he shot this season, it probably would have worked.
It's kind of weird. Maybe they just gave up on it a little too early. But I mean, they're in the Western Conference Finals, so.
Not yet.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that was a crazy game last night. You might not get game 7. I ain't gonna lie to you. You give a Jokic a chance for game 7.
By the way, y'all tell Pat stalled me out. I literally told Pat, hey, if you're gonna live watch party, let me know. I'll do it with you. I'm sitting down chilling. I get an alert. Windy City Breeze watch party. I'm like, what are we doing here?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't remember you telling me that.
Bro, we did 3 together already. I told you then when we did it.
Oh, you were saying just in general.
Yes.
Oh, that's different. No, that's not bad. That's okay. No, we did it at the studio with everybody in that mug. So I was like,
that's the only reason I ain't messed with you about it last night because I'm like, everybody's
and the power kept cutting in and out too. It was not great. I ain't gonna lie to you. We thought we was gonna die last night in that studio, bro. Like the wind blew and something hit so the back of our studio behind them walls is all glass. That mug said dunk. I was like, hey, we might have a problem here, boys. Stuff should be. Because it's like an overhang up back there. I was like, stuff shouldn't be hitting the windows back here. Like,
bro, and if the glass breaks, y'all going to have to go on to cover all the equipment immediately.
Oh, yeah. But it's so, like, how the building is built, it was protected from the wind, so it wasn't terrible, but we could hear it whipping through there. But it was like, that's what terrified me, because it was just like, ooh, dunk. Hold up.
You made it sound like that sounds like Scooby-Doo sound effects.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was. I've also heard it could apply to a Giddey party.
All right. With that said, we are going to continue the conversation. Next, we're going to talk about should the Chicago Bulls or could the Chicago Bulls trade up in the 2025 draft right after this. Where's my banner, Pat?
Give it a sec. You could have started reading. You could have started reading without the banner. I could have gave you the banner.
Basketball season is at its peak, and with the playoffs heating up, now's the time to put your sports knowledge to work with PrizePicks, the top platform for daily fantasy sports. PrizePicks makes it easy. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. Whether it's points, rebounds, or assists, you've got a shot to win up to 2,000 times your entry. This week, I'm looking at Donovan Mitchell to score 26 points while I was until they got eliminated. Now I'm looking at Nikola Jokic to score 50. Score 50. Nikola Jokic in Game 7. That takes less than 60 seconds to use. And I love how I can mix and match basketball players with other sports like baseball or esports in the same lineup. And when you hit your picks, the payout hits fast, sometimes in as little as 15 minutes. Tuesdays are even better with Taco Tuesday, where player projections are discounted up to 25% for even more value. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. That boy working. I see you, Pat. I
started it. You could have started it.
I could have. But the thing that I didn't want to do it, like, we're still learning to trust each other with this new process. I didn't want to be halfway through the ad read and be like, Pat fell asleep on me.
No. I did throw up game time first, though, because you threw me off.
Hilarious. With that said, Pat, Bulls in the draft. First, I guess let's start here. Do you think the Bulls even will need to trade up? It does seem like quite a bit of prospects, at least me and you are high on, are going to be there at number 12. But if the Bulls do feel they need to trade up, do you think that is a possibility? I have my kind of theory, but I want to know how you feel about it.
I think it's a possibility. I mean, you're going to give something up that's massive, but the question mark is, because it's not the NFL draft. It's not like, oh, I'll give you a future second and we'll swap Io the Sumu and we'll make this thing work. Like, you're going to have to, for a first round pick, especially a top 5, top 10 first round pick. Yeah, I'm these couple first round picks up off of you, my boy. Like, yeah. So NBA trade ups are so they're almost far and few between. Like, I can't even think of what the last trade up
honestly, was. And I can't think of because that was it the Jalen Duren that draft. The Pistons traded back down, remember? Because then they traded also because then they also technically draft Mark Williams, but then traded to the Hornets. There's a bunch of trades with centers.
Well, they'll do that where it's it's almost like a player swap, but even that's scary because it's okay, I agreed to draft this player for you, and then we'll make a trade for this player for your pick. But usually those are, I guess in theory, that is a trade up. I guess that's a trade up.
Yeah.
Because you're taking the player, but then you're trading the player to me for the pick. So I guess that is kind of a trade up. Apparently also when the Spurs selected guard Rob Dillingham, they traded him to Minnesota in exchange for a 2030 protected first round pick. That's not really a trade up.
It's not really a trade up.
It's not a trade up.
And those are the type of trades you more so see in the first round. I'm glad that you read that because that's more what you see where you're like, it's just a trade within the draft. It's not necessarily trading up. It's a little bit more difficult in the NBA just because you don't have the number of picks. Each player is so much more valuable and so much more I say valuable, but each pick matters that much more than in the NFL. I think sometimes people have this mindset where it's the NFL draft, and it's nothing like that as far as trading up. But let me paint the scenario for you, Pat, because there's only really one that I see that it makes sense that's kind of feasible for the Bulls to trade up. And that's why I was hoping that because they were originally slated to be 2 spots ahead of the Bulls, and that's the Portland Trailblazers. With us having the Portland Trailblazers pick, we can give them their pick back because they can't trade any of their first round picks as long as we have that. But at only 1 spot up for the Bulls, I don't really see the value in necessarily doing that either. So unless you're using Vooch maybe to trade up, I don't know if I see it happening, honestly, bro.
I think here's the thing, and
Ooh,
Usually, if you're in this situation, it's because there's a player that team also thinks is valuable, so it's not going to happen. But if you see a superstar, you go get them. NBA is completely different. It is not. We got another year to figure this out. We can go into the draft next year. If you see somebody up there that you evaluate, you go through his game, you work him out. You that's crazy. You bring him in for a workout. You do all of the things that you need to do. You sit down and you understand his mindset, and he's got a mindset like Anthony Edwards. You're just like, oh God, like this is the guy. This is the guy we have to get, and we have to do anything we can to get him. You do anything you can to get him. You wanna know why? Those guys don't pop up.
Yeah.
That's the situation for trading up to.
Yeah, like for example, I know I'm not saying this will happen, but we talked yesterday about how like Trey Johnson is falling down the draft. If you identify Trey Johnson as a superstar and you see he's falling down to 8 or 9, and you're like, let's start making some calls to see if we can get up there and get him.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because I think in that situation, one, the Bulls are in a good spot to actually trade, right? Listen, we just talked about Josh Giddey getting $150 million. He's not getting $150 million just because he was like running around on the court. Like you would give him $150 million because Josh Giddey's an asset to this team. Coby White is already on this team. He's on the last year of a $30 million deal here. You know, you've got some of your young pieces down low. You added Modest last season. You're in a position where, again, I've said this a couple of times. If you go into this season with this team as it is, I like the team. Cool team.
Yeah.
If you go into this season and you identify a superstar out of this, I love this team. I think this team is a phenomenal team now. You've got all the role players you need. You've got everything that you need to go out there and be successful. You don't have a superstar, though, that's going to get you over the hump, that's going to push you to the next level. And by the way, star. I'm really saying a star, and maybe that's Modest. But, if you can identify that in the draft and it's a few picks ahead of you, gets down to New Orleans and Brooklyn. New Orleans may not even want to make this pick.
Yeah.
New Orleans so sick of making picks.
I mean, listen, they gotta just keep them healthy.
Bro, how many times can you F up the first overall pick?
That's funny. Okay, I know you said if you trade up and get a star. Let me ask you this. If the Bulls are confident, like internally they feel, hey, no, Modest is gonna be a star. How much would you be willing to trade up if you see the perfect complement to that? Even if you don't see that other player being a star, but it's like, no, this is a guy that fits in perfectly with what Modest is. This can be our pairing going forward at some point. This could be the 1-2 punch that we need. You need players that are able to pair off each other. Are you willing to trade up then for the complementary piece, even if you don't necessarily see that player bringing a star, but an above average starter? Is that something you'd also be willing to trade up for?
Yeah, I mean, listen, yeah, because if you're saying it's an accent that's going to get Modest to that star level, yeah, that's what the NBA is all about. Turn somebody into a star and have a running mate for that star. Listen, Mike, we all love Mike. Mike don't get 6 without Scotty
at all.
Now Scotty turns into a Hall of Famer, a superstar in his own right, but like that wasn't the case for it in the beginning. It was just like, all right, we need somebody that can go out there and help Mike defend, and also can be efficient in scoring, and kind of. Then all of a sudden it was like, oh, this mug can like run the show. Oh, well, now he's a point forward. Like now you get the creation of that position. So like you need the running mate. Stephen Curry don't get 6 or don't get 5. Oh no, 4 without Klay Thompson. You need the running mate. So like, yes, the goal is to find the nucleus of what this young Bulls team needs to be. However you find that, wherever you find that, that's the situation in my mind that I'm looking to see the Bulls go out there and trade up. Outside of that, stay at 12. There's too many good pieces in this draft. You may be able to find that guy at 12.
And that's what the thing is too, is like it'd be different if maybe you were like 15th, 16th and you needed to trade up, like you wanted to get into that lottery to get that guy. But the way that this draft is shaking up, and especially when you got guys like Cedric Coward rising up draft boards like crazy, Jace Richardson rising up draft boards like crazy, you know what that's going to do? That's going to push some of those guys that were formerly slated to be top 5, 6 picks down. And so you have the chance to take a chance on that too. So I think the Bulls are in a really good spot.
Flying up draft boards,
bro.
Cedric Coward is like, he went from like
he was
not in the draft to a lottery pick.
Yeah, I mean, they had a mid-second round, bro. Like he went from that to, like you said, a lottery pick. That's crazy rise. And that's what it shows to go for guys that go to smaller schools. Like that's why, like even Rasheer Fleming, I'm super high on him. Some of the reasons why some mocks have him going in the 20s is because they didn't really play very many people. But I look at his skill set and I'm like, hey man, that dude's a dog. So
yeah, we'll he got a ton of game, man. And the big thing where the Bulls are at right now, why I wouldn't want to see him trade up, is because I just think there's dogs that's going to be there. Yeah. Find the right one. You can find a great piece at 12. I swear you can. Yeah. But hey, we'll see what the Bulls end up finding in this draft. But we got to talk about the possibility of something that they could find via the trade or restricted free agent market. Is Jonathan Kuminga on the board? Should he be? Talk about that coming up. But first, got to tell you all about our sponsors over at Game Time. That's why you lead with the solo cam and then you go to the. I love that this has become a bit for us. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live. And this year's matchups are already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off, and with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat view, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. I was just on this app and I was tapping in to what those Game 7 tickets might look like for the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder back in Oklahoma City. And Zone Deals were offering 60% off in great sections. I love that I can see my exact view before I buy. No surprises. Never been down to OKC. So you got to know, if that is going to in fact be a game that I attend, where the heck am I sitting? What am I looking for? And with Game Time Guarantee, you're getting the best deal. If you find a better price in the same row or section, they'll credit me 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
All right, Pat. I forgot the music. We're working out the kinks here. It is what it is. By the way, before we get up out of here, before we do anything else, it's Janet Jackson's birthday today. It should be a national holiday. Shout out to Janet Jackson.
So you're the one doing the bending. It's one of the greatest lines ever uttered in a movie.
Bro, that's one of the greatest. That's one of the most unexpected cinematic lines of history, bro. Because like you're watching that movie and that's not the way you expect that to go. But nonetheless,
hey, bro, I'll be honest with you. I don't even think I've seen the movie, bro. I've just seen that scene.
That's hilarious,
bro. Nobody me over. So you're the one doing the bending.
So you're the one doing the bending. Oh.
Is that a Tyler Perry movie? What movie is that?
Yes, it's For Colored Girls. That's the name of the movie.
Oh, I definitely have seen that then. Never mind.
Yeah. But Pat, Kuminga, there's a lot of talk around Kuminga. He had to play a lot towards the end of that Warriors series because, of course, Steph being down, they needed to find something. He actually played really well as well, put up some big numbers there. Do you think Jonathan Kuminga should still be a target for the Chicago Bulls?
Here's what's tough for me about what we saw. And he did play well. You're 100% right. I think when he finally started getting 18, 30, 25, 25, something like that. Like he finished well down the stretch. Do we want to add someone who is a pure, I have to be a ball stopping scorer to this team with Josh Giddey? There's a lot of ball movement on this team right now. There's a lot of the Bulls are getting out and running. Kuminga can score, but Kuminga is scoring in a more Carmelo Anthony style of scoring. And I'm not saying he's Carmelo Anthony, but very ball stopper. Ball comes to him. Everybody get the F out my way. I'm about to go handle some business real quick. Versus scoring in the flow of the offense. And dare I say, going to that style with him and Jimmy Butler being the only two left is what knocked the Warriors out of the playoffs. The ball stopped moving. You weren't getting the ball out to people in the corner. You weren't knocking down shots in the flow of the offense. And then Draymond Green was trying to punch people. So, like, I mean, like, I I like the idea of Kuminga. I like the fact that he is incredibly young, but he don't fit. He just doesn't. He doesn't fit the kind of offense that it makes sense for with Josh Giddey. There's no point in paying Josh Giddey if you're going to go get Jonathan Kuminga. If you're going to go get Jonathan Kuminga, Lonzo Ball on 35 games can pass the ball to him.
Yeah. Yeah, here's the thing. I see what you're saying as far as Jonathan Kuminga being an on-ball dominant scorer. Absolutely. But I also think, like, that's all he's been asked to do. And he's still 22 years old. I wonder how much can he grow from that still? And maybe that's what the Bulls are looking at there. So at 22 years old, I'm not going to try to act like that's only who he is. But I will say, to your point, though, if you're telling us that this is a team right now that is still, because you're going to be trying to go out and win basketball games, still needs to be a certain amount of fit on it. Now, if you're telling us Kuminga is going to be your scorer off the bench and you're going to bring him in and he's still going to play 30 minutes and he's going to accept that role, maybe. But then you got to ask yourself, now, is that the role that you want to pay $30 million to? Because reportedly that's what he wants. That's where you start getting into some other questions, right? Like, I'd rather draft that guy if that's going to be the thing. And there's some guys in that draft that can do that. So I think right now you have to be in a place of making complementary moves. And it would be different if this Bulls team was a team that went on a playoff run or had been in the playoffs a couple of years. And it's like, you know what? We just need another on-ball scorer creator. Yeah. Then okay, you go out there and get that guy. I still like Kuminga. Make no mistake about it. I like what he's shown as far as flashes wise as a player. But I don't know about immediately going into that and having to pay the money that he's going to command in restricted free agency to get that done. I just don't know about it. But I mean, the Bulls work some magic. Okay. I still think that this could be a byproduct of trying to get Vooch to Golden State, which then you may have to do something like that. Okay, then. Like I said, they can sell me on it if that's the move they decide to make. I just don't know if that's the best allocation right now.
Yeah, listen, I like Jonathan Kuminga as a player, but like we're asking Jonathan Kuminga to not be the guy that he has been every single time he's looked great. There's never been a time where Jonathan Kuminga's been the high scoring guy where it was because all of a sudden the offense was flowing, the ball was moving around, everybody's running, and he's just getting it off the scraps and getting to the bucket in the flow of the offense. And like, no, every time Jonathan Kuminga's been great, it is I got it. Hey, watch out. All right, I'm going to the bucket. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying that it's who he'll be forever, but you do have to pay him on who he is right now.
Yeah. That's true.
And who he is right now is a ball stopper. And it works for that style. It works for his style of offense. Now, if you want to have a ball stopper, that's fine. Don't pay Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to have a ball, like you can win with a ball stopper. Anthony Edwards is a ball stopper.
Okay.
But Anthony Edwards is also the focal point of that entire offense. Like, there's no question on who's shooting the basketball at the end of the game. There's no question on who's getting the ball in crunch time. There's no like, if you go that route, that's who you pay. That's your guy. And you tell everybody else, get the F out the way and be a complimentary piece to that guy.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely that. I think, and like you said, you need compliments at this point. And I think even outside of just the Josh Giddey aspect of it, you've already had to make Josh Giddey and Coby, and to their credit, they look like they figured it out. Want to see how they started at the beginning of the season? They look like they figured it out, but that wasn't the most seamless fit. On top of that, too, you're trying to get more offense in for your rookie, who you're hoping is going to be a star. You have to find more ways to put the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
So adding another, like you said, ball stopper could affect a lot of that. And if the Bulls were to try to make that, they better have a game plan to make that shit work out, because if not, it's going to be ugly.
Just slip that cuss word in there, though.
You could say shit on Locked On. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. I was like, well, that's gonna be a text message from Nick. Yeah, slide that one in. That's all right.
Listen, I've listened to many John Corrales podcasts. That's the barrier I'm using myself for. If Corrales gets away with it, Nick, you better not text me. That's all I'm saying. Because just know I listen, so I'm gonna have receipts.
Well, you know, Haize, we've got a different mindset with that, and
listen, your team has to be a playoff team to be able to.
You got to be a playoff team for you to get away with cussing, bro. You gotta. You got to have at least 60 wins to slip that one in there, bro. There's no way.
That is hilarious, man.
Hey, man, we appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer.
You guys can follow me at CEO Haize. We appreciate y'all for tuning in and staying locked in with us, man. You can find us on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV, Fubo TV, and more, man. Thank you, guys. See you guys on Monday.
That was great.
Peace.
That was great. Until you got to be a 60-win team.
You telling me you got to be a 60-win team?